Okay. So as you can see, of course, you need to create a new project, a new React project. And after you create, we have different components here. We just have the header. And then we have joke container that will include all the logic. Let's see here. We have the joke here. Yeah, our joke component. And then we have the loading. The loading, of course, it will show us, or it will show the user a loader until he gets a joke data, and we show this joke data. So first, let's go to the header and try to create it. How can I create a component header? Well, simple. HYF-BE, as you can see. So we need to get rid of this one. I don't need it. And when I'm trying to create a header, I will need a title or text or whatever you want to name it. It's okay. Of course, now the title here, it will be a prop type. The type here, it will be string, and it will be is required, of course, if you want to add is required. So we need to validate the prop type here. And what I need to do here, I need to get rid of this one because I don't want a div. I'm going to create an header, and inside the header, I'm going to create an h1 title, and voila. Let me import the CSS. So I can just say import dot slash, my name is header dot CSS. That's the easiest thing to create. So now I can just import it directly in app.jsx. So let me go here, import. Yeah, import, and we name it header from here. And now I can just simply add it to this component. Of course, I need to pass the title. As a title, it will not be hello world. Of course, it would be get a joke, for example. Get a joke. Yeah. If I go here, that's my title is quite ready. Of course, I can go to my React component. I already have the header and I have a props. Only I have the title here, as you can see. And this component here with the header, it will be a re-render only with .gsx, which is a root component. That's simple. Now for the loading here, it will be the same idea. I have two div and I have some styling. After that, you can style it. If you don't like it, you can style it the way you want to. So it's nothing logic here, really. It's just some div and CSS. Now we have joke container and joke. That will be the most important two, especially joke container. In joke container, I will send a request to the backend to get the data. And of course, to send a request to the backend to get data, I will need APIs, as you can see. I already have one API, get joke, and that's my URL. I've shared it with you already, and I'm just trying to get the joke data. That's it. So nothing difficult here. Fine. Let me click on here. Let me click on here. Now let's go to joke container. And now let me create a component, RAFCP actually. Voila. Let me get rid of this one. Now in this component, I don't need any props. I'm not gonna pass anything from the app.gsx, so I really don't need that. And also I don't need that. Voila. But I will need to import a few components here. So I can import the loading here. Also, I need to import the joke component because I will need it here. So first, let me import the loading. Import loading. Yeah, that's what you call it, loading from /loading. And the second one here, it will be joke component, but I don't have any component. I can just create a dummy component for now. Go here, just create a component and get rid of this one for now. Remove this one. I don't know if I need the props or not. Let's just do it this way for now. And what I can do now, yeah, come here and import both component loading and joke. Voila. I will need both this component, both loading and joke. Yeah, that should be it. For this component, which is called joke container, I need to import it inside app.jsx and show it. So let me import it here. All I have to do just say import. What was the name? Joke container. That's the name of my component. Voila. I can just render my component simply. Voila. That should be okay for now. Now let's go to the joke container. For the joke container here, what I'm going to, or I will try to do actually, I will try to get the joke info. To get the joke info, of course, the default value for joke info, it will be something. And whenever I'm sending a request to the backend to get this data, it will be something else. So I need somehow to change, I will be able to change this joke. How can I, what should I use here? Yeah. So I need to be able to re-render this component, or I need to be able to go to the backend to get the data. What should I use?
Use state hooks.
So I can use piece of state, and this piece of state, for example, I can just say const, just name it joke, say joke. What will be the default value?
Null.
Sorry,
And null.
it will be null, indeed. Why it will be null? Because simply when I don't have a joke, I don't want to render anything here. And here null, as you know, it's falsy value. So if I go to my URL here is a joke and I click on it, my joke, it will be an object. And object, as you know, in JavaScript, all the time they are truthy, even if it's an empty object. That's not what I want to. So I want to pass null here because the null, it will be a falsy value if I don't have the joke. That means that if I don't have any data, it will just make this one here the default value. It will be false. Okay, fine. So I have a joke, and after that, maybe I will need to use the loading as well, because when I send a request, I need to show the loading. So I can just name it const loading, set loading. By default, the loading here, I will make it true. Why? Because whenever I send a request, I want my loading to appear. And now later on inside my use effect, whenever I receive my data, I need to make this set loading false. But now by default, I'll make it true. Also, I can create an error message in case, let's say whenever I'm sending a request, I encounter an error or something. So what I'm going to do here, I'll just say error, set error, and the default value, it will be false. So depending on this one, I can show the error message in case my request to send the request I'm sending to Joke API, it failed, for example. So I need to show the message here. That's okay, that's not bad. Now here, what I can do here, click, and now here I can render loading conditionally, of course. Remember here, loading by default is true, so I can just say loading and my component loading. And of course, that will work only if the loading is true. Voilà. So I'm trying to render loading conditionally. That means if the value is true, it will show me the loading here. And if the value is false, it will remove it. Of course, by default, the value is true. Also, I need to render the joke as well. And the joke here, again, it will be really depend on the data. So if I don't have any data, I should not change this value, I have null. If I convert null to truthy or falsy, what it will be? What's the default value of null or
False.
Falsy. So joke here, it will be falsy, and because it's falsy, I will not be able to render the joke here, the joke component. And actually, that's what I want to. That's the reason why I make it false. Voila. So I'm trying to render these two guys. First, the loading, and second one is the joke itself. And also, I need to show maybe the error message. So if I have an error message, that means my request to the backend. I will not have data, of course, because this one to be falsy. I will not change this one, but I can show an error message. So let me render again the error message conditionally as well. So I will have an error in case error. By default, by the way, it's false. If the error is true, it will show me this one, it will create this div, and maybe I can write some message here. Error uh, getting a joke data, for example. Of course, you can make it the way you want to, but just make it super simple. And here, maybe you can add a class here, and this class, let's name it L. Voila. So I'm conditionally, as you can see, I'm trying to render these three guys. The loading first, the joke here, and of course the joke by default here. If I didn't change it, it will be false. That means it will not show me this joke. And the third value, it will be the error itself. Okay, that's not bad. Now somehow I need to be able to send a request to the backend to get my data. What should I use?
Use effect.
Of course, I need to use hook, use effect, of course. Use effect like that, and use effect by default. It take a function as a parameter. As a second parameter, it will be array of dependency, as you can see. That's fine. So what do I want to do? Well, I want to send a request to the backend, and my API is here. As you know, my API return a promise, so I can handle it. So it would be a good idea to create a function using async like that. I can handle the promise. So I'm not allowed to make this function async function, but what I'm allowed to, I can just say const fetch data, for example, fetch joke or fetch data or whatever you want to. I can create an async function. And of course, I need to call my function. If I don't call it, it will not work. So now I'm calling my function, as you can see. Voila. Fine. Here I can just use again try and catch if I want to. So I can use try and catch. Here is the catch. I'm not gonna throw an error because I'm already throwing an error here, as you can see. So if I encounter an error, it will go directly to the error block here. So my objective here is just I want to set now the error to true, because when I go to the catch block, that means I have an error. So what I need to do here, I need to set the error here to true. By default, it's false, but if I encounter any error, it will be true. Okay. And of course, finally, as you know, we have finally, and finally it will be run no matter what. Finally, I want to set the loading here. So that's the loading. By default, it's true. And when I get my data or I get an error, I want to set the loading to false. And here, all I have to do now here, I can just say const joke. Let's name it joke data. It will be equal to await for my waiting for my API. Where's my API? I don't have my API, so I need to import my API here. Import get get joke from, no, that's not correct. I think it's from APIs. Yes, and from get joke, and now should be fine. And now here I can use this guy get joke, and I should receive my data. Of course, now when I'm receiving my data here is just joke data, it will be an object. So I can change this value here using set joke, and I can give it the new value. So set joke, voila. And that's what I want to actually. Okay. So I have three pieces of state. The joke itself, which will be an object. I give it the default value null because like that, I will be able to render it or not render it conditionally. Have loading. I will always need loading, especially when I'm sending request to the backend. An error, in case I encounter error or not. Those two are Boolean. So this one by default true, this one by default is false. What I'm doing here in use effect, I'm trying to send a request to get to the backend to get my data. So I just created a function called fetch joke, and I make it a async function, and then I'm calling my function, as you can see. That's nice. I have try and catch, and finally in the try I will say get joke data is equal to await, and I call my function, my API. It should give me my data. If I get my data, I need to change the joke data, so set joke to whatever I have. Of course, in the error here, I don't have to throw an error. I just need to set the error here, as you can see. Set the error here to true, and like that, I can render my error, this error here. And of course, finally, I need to get rid of this loading because this loading here, it was true by default. So when I'm finished, either I'm getting my data or I get an error, I need to get rid of this loading. And that should be simple, right, guys, or not?
Yes.
Good, now I need to go to my joke component and I need to pass the data because I did not pass my data here. when I receive my data, and my data here, as you know, it will be this one, this guy here, joke. So let's pass them as a component, as a prop, sorry. So I'm passing them here, my joke data as a prop to the joke component, and now I need to work on the joke component a little bit. So let me go to joke component, and here I will receive, what do we name it? Joke, right? Yeah. So we name it joke, yeah. Fine. Here in this guy, I need now to somehow to show the different component I want to show. So what do I need to show? Maybe the joke type. That's what I mean. So maybe I can show the joke type. I can show single joke. We will have a joke itself. If a double joke, I will have, or two part, I will have setup and delivery and stuff like that. Did I import my CSS here? Yes. Did I import my CSS? No. So let me import it. Yep. Header did I import? Yes. Job did I import my CSS? No. So let me import my CSS. Yeah. Fine. So now here in the job, if I want to just see the job data, I can actually, as you can see, if I go to the network here, well, I'm getting my data, as you can see. So that's all my data here. That's in case it was two-part joke, because now two-part joke is a little bit different from a single joke, as you know. So it's really up to you. All I have to do now, just try to show this component, this part here of my joke. So let me enter this one. And here maybe I can, what I can do, depending on the joke here, I want first to show the category here. So what I can do, I can just now create a div. It's really up to you what to create. And here I can pass joke dot type, right? The first property, it was type, if I am not mistaken. And of course here I need to say joke here prop type. So I will use the shape and I will pass the type here, which will be a string. So the joke type sometime, actually it's category, is not type. It's category. Category one. I need the category one here. Yeah, I have type two, but I mean type is not super important for me. So I'll need type, and also I will need, come on. And I will need, what do we name it? Category. I could just pass it here. Well, so now in my joke, I have a category, and then I will have a type as well. Now, depending on the type, I will either show. So if my type here is two-part, I will have these two guys. But if it's a single, I will just have a joke with one property only. So I can render it conditionally as well. So what I can do here, I can just go here, voila, do this way, and I can say here, for example, if joke dot type, it's strictly equal to either two part, or I can just say single. It's really up to you. So if that's correct, I'm gonna render something. If it's not correct, I'm gonna render something else. Voila. And well, so if it's correct, a single part, I will probably need a div like that. And in this div, I will need to render, I think the property was joke.joke, if I'm not mistaken. Joke.joke, I need to add joke here, joke.joke here, string. Is it required? No, it's not required, because sometimes we have it, sometimes we don't have it. Okay, if it's single, I will show it this way, but if it's not single, two part, I need to have two divs, actually, not one div. So I can create a div here. Let me just get rid of this one. I need to create two divs. The first div like that, and inside this div, I will need two divs. Yes, I will need setup and delivery, as you can see. So if it's a joke here is here's two parts, as you can see, I need setup and delivery, so I need those two. And of course, I need to be able to add these two into my prop type. They are not required, both of them. Why? Because depending on the type of the job, either I have job or setup and delivery. So I'm just showing these guys here. If my job is single, I'm gonna show only this guy. If it's not single, I'm gonna show these two guys. That's nice, not bad. What else do I need? Yep. Well, what I need here, it will be these flags. As you can see, is of my flag is an object. And because it's an object, I need somehow to show this guy as this guy, this guy as this guy, and this guy as this guy. Is there any way to convert an object into an array?
For in?
I'm sorry?
Always for in loop?
Yeah, but we can use for in loop, but we can make it a little bit easy. We can convert this one into an array. How can we convert this one into array? Any idea?
There is a method, I think.
Well, there is a method, but what the method is?
Yeah, is array or something.
Object dot entries. So object dot entries, what it's doing here, of course, I need to pass my joke dot flags. Now let's just keep it for now like that. Of course, the object dot flags I will require, so I can just object dot flags, and I can use shape again, shape like that, because I need to pass a few steps here. Yeah, here I will need this guy, NSVW, religious, political, you know this stuff here. That should be okay. So the method, it will be object.entry, and what object.entry is doing here, it will put each key value inside an array and all of them inside another array. So we'll have an array of arrays. So what I can do here, I can just say dot map because it will be an array. And here I will receive, so this property here, it will be an array. Why? Because I told you each key and value, it will be inside an array and all of them inside another array. So I can directly destructure it here. And I can take the flag and the value here if I want to. Well, that should be simple here. Let's just a mapping. So let's try to return something. What do I want to do here for each? Well, I need to create a div for each, maybe, or button, maybe. I don't know. Button like that. Voila. So what is we just created the button. Now we will need for button because we are mapping here, we need a key. Why do we need a key? Well, each time in React when we are mapping through a category or list, we need to pass a unique key. And the key here, I can just choose either as a value, it will not be unique. Why? Because the value, it will be either true or false. But here the flag, it will be unique. Because again, if I go to the flag here, it will be either NSFW, religious, racist, sexist, political, and explicit. That's fine. I can add a class if I want to here. So if the value is true, that's mean I can, if it's true, I can add something here, maybe red. I don't know, a class red. If it's true, and if it's not, maybe I can add a class green. It's just for styling, that's it. And inside my button, I am passing my flag. And my flag here, as I told you, it will be either this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, or this one. And now if you go to my, see, so I have those guys, as you can see. NSW, religious, political, racist, and stuff like that. Now what I can do also, I can just put a normal like that, and I can take the value. Now the value, it will be Boolean. I need to convert it to a string, so I can just take the value to string. And now if I go back, see, here this is false, this is true, false, this is false, this is true, this is false, this is true. And of course, now I can give it a different class, as you know. So here, if it's true, I don't know, either I'm going to make it green or I make it red. If this one is true, it should be red, I think. If this one is false, it should be green, or maybe the opposite. It's totally up to you. Okay. Now my joke is working fine. It's not bad idea. I have all these one. Of course, I did not style them yet, but I can style them. Let me see if I can just manage a little bit styling. Although it's not my objective, but it's okay. So I need class here. It's called joke card. So I need a class name. Voila. I will need the buttons. That should be fine. Category. What is category? Category. Yes, that's my category here. If I want to add a class called category as well, I can add it. Class name. It's just useless. You can add whatever you want to. Flags, and here, of course, I will have something called flags. So what I can do, I can put all my button inside one div component just for styling again. So I can just cut this one, put this one here, voila. So it's just matter of putting all my button here inside these two div, and this div, it will take a class which is called flags. Yeah, something like that. It's just styling. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not really good, but it's not really bad as well. But anyway, here, as you can see, I have my stuff here. So I need to somehow to change this color depending on this one. I don't like this one, so maybe I can get rid of this one, save. Yeah, but this one was something else. Flags, where is this one? No, maybe I can just make it red and green without save. This one as well. Let's see. Yeah, it's not bad. Of course, I don't have the color yet, but it's a little bit okay. So as you can see, each time I'm refreshing here, I will have a new joke. As you can see, this joke could be one part, single or two part, whatever. And I have the category first, and voila. Click, click, click. I have different joke, and these data here are different. I think also I can see my loader here. I think there's another property here. I need to show it here at the end, and this property here is called save. Of course, I can show the language. You can do whatever you want. So here I can add, and this one I can add another div here, and this div here, I'm gonna remove this class. I don't need this class. I don't need the ID. It will be joke.save if I'm not mistaken. Save like that. Voila. So joke.save here, I can just say save. So I can add just a normal text here. And here it will go to joke.save. Joke.save, of course, either it will be true and false. So I need to convert it to a string. Voila. Because it will be a Boolean. Of course, I did not add this guy here. So maybe what I can do, I can add this property as well, as you can see. Well, so depending on this joke, maybe either it will be safe or not. And what I can do also, maybe if I want to, I can just add a class. And depending on this class here, I can just say joke.save. Of course, it will be a Boolean, either true or false. So if it's safe, so maybe I can add a green class. If it's not safe, maybe I can add red. Voila. And voila. So each time now I click on this one, either my joke, it will be saved or not. Of course, you can color those one depending on your need. So voila, everything's fine. Now what I want to do now, I want to create a button here actually. So what I did here in the joke container, I forget now to create a button. Why I will need this button? Well, I will need this button because each time I click on this button, I want to fetch another joke. So get a new joke data and update the joke I have. So what I need to do here, maybe I can just create a div for now. And inside this div, I can create a button. So I can just say button like that. And this button here, let's say get. Let's name it get a joke, for example. So that will be my button. And of course, the button here, I will need to add an event to it. So the event, it will be on click. And when I click on this button, I need to pass a handler, which will be click handler, for example. Voila. I don't have, of course, click handler. So as you can see, I do not have a click handler. So I need to create it. Click handler. So it's N actually, it's not M. Voila. So that's my click handler, as you can see. I don't want it to be async for async. It's not necessary for me to be async. Okay, that's not bad. So what do I want to do now? I want whenever I click on this button, I want to fetch a new joke data. How can I do that? Any idea? You need to think about a little bit. So I have a button, and of course, this is inside the button. I have the handler here, the button handler. When I click on the button, and where's my button here? Sketch joke, for example. Voila. Let's refresh it. So what I want to do when I click on this one, I want to fetch a new joke. How can I do that? So here is not working, of course, now. I need to make it functional. What should I do?
With ID?
Okay, so that's good idea. What I can do here, each time I click on this button, I can change something. And when I change this something, I want each time to call this function, which will go to the backend and get me a data. That's a good idea. But what would be here? What should I do here? I need to make some changes, right?
You need to use state ID. Yeah.
Good. So I can just say const. Here, let's say, just name it ID, set ID like that. And here's the ID by default. It will be what? It will be maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 0. It doesn't matter really. I'll just pass 1. It doesn't matter. I can pass 0 if I want to. So I've created a piece of state, which will be an ID, and the value here, it will be a number. That's not bad, okay. But what should I do now? Each time I click on this button, I need to update this guy. I make it a little bit more. So how can I make it a little bit more? Well, it's quite simple. I can just say set ID. And of course, my set ID depend on the old value. So I can pass a function. As you can see, previous, it will be previous plus 1. That's very nice. So each time I'm clicking on this button, I am changing the value of the ID. So I'm making it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But now I need to do here, I need also this function to trigger each time the ID changes. So I need to pass it as,
dependency.
Indeed, I need to pass it as a dependency. And now here, each time I click on this button, it will change the ID. And because it will change the ID, and here I have in array of my dependency, depend on the ID, it will trigger the data and it will give me a new joke. And of course, whenever my data changes here, it will come and render my component again. So now if I go here, refresh, that should be simple. Voila, as you can see, simple. Each time I click on this one, I'm changing my ID, which will be a piece of state. And then I will inside fetching the data, I need to pass my ID as an array of dependency. That means each time the ID changes, each time I change the ID, and of course, this function here as an array of dependency depend on the ID. So that means it will trigger this data. And because it will trigger this data, I am changing the joke data, as you can see here. If I get my data, if I did not get my data, I'm changing the error and the loading. So this state here, it will be changed. And if the state change, of course, my component, it will be re-rendered. And that's simply the project. Voila. Of course, I did not style it perfectly. You can style it the way you want to, but I think the idea should be simple, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Samir, but with this logic, it's not